Good afternoon, everyone. This is Melvin York, and I'm here with Gardening with Daddy Pete. I want to talk to you a little bit this evening about preparing for fall, what all it takes to get ready. And I was just thinking a while ago that many of our gardens, we have our fruit trees and we have fruit bushes, we have raised beds, we may even have some row gardening. We have perennial beds, we have annual beds and pots, we have herb gardens, and the list goes on and on for us to take care of. Now, some of the things we'll do is trying to give you a list of some of the tools and maybe some of the chores that we need to be thinking about getting ready because fall's coming. This is August the 16th, and believe me, it will be that time before you know it. Now's the time to be thinking about any seeds that you have on any of the plants that you want to save. Go ahead and make sure that you gather those, wash them thoroughly, spread them out, let them dry. What I recommend, and I usually do with mine, is when they're dry, slip them in a Ziploc bag, push all the air out, find a place in the freezer for them. That works well. And later, when we get ready to plant those seeds, I'll tell you a little trick on how we can make them come up just a little quicker. But that's a good way to do it. Make sure you put a label inside with what the name of the seed is and the year that you saved them for. Now, if you're saving them this year, you want to put saved for 2023. That way you'll know that they're fresh seed. If you have any old seed like that variety that's already been saved, use those first next year before you use these. Most seed has a shelf life of anywhere from 3 to 6, and some of them even 8 years. So make sure that you use your older seed first when planting. Now, when it's getting ready to button up our gardens, get ready for the next garden season, we let everything go in the winter. But if you've been a gardener very long, you know about the time that we get everything, what I like to use the term laid by. That's the way the old farmers talked when they done their last cultivating, waiting for the crops to get ready to come in. We used the term we laid it by. So when we're getting ready to lay by all of our gardening and get it taken care of for the fall, if you're like me, you know more than get Christmas over with, and it's time to start sowing seeds for our spring garden and what I call our cold weather crops. Now, just to give you a list of some of the things that you may need to take on some of your fall maintenance, and that's exactly what we're talking about, fall maintenance. Make sure that you've got some good fitting gloves, preferably leather if you're going to be pulling spikes or thorny bushes or around briars. And I like to have a good set of knee pads also. Now, that can be one that you throw down, or you could actually get a pair that you do put on to your knees. I think you will enjoy those, and your knees surely will. If you have trees in your yard, and most of us do, you need a good wide rake. So start looking now. There's probably some good buys on them. If you're planning on spreading any mulch, if you don't already have one, get you a good pitchfork. Don't buy the 4-time pitchfork, buy the 5. The 5-time or 5-prong pitchfork will hold more mulch and it makes it easier to spread. So I like the 5-time over the 4. 4 is usually a little cheaper, but the 5 times, if you do have trees, make sure your leaf blower is in good shape or you need to get one. This will be a great time if you don't do any composting and you have leaves to make a compost bin. We can talk later on how to put those leaves to good use for your garden for next year. If you do have some shrubs and plants around that doesn't have any cover and you're not putting mulch down for looks, you're just trying to keep the plants warm this winter, you can transplant those leaves over to that area, and that does provide a lot of protection for the winter for your plants there. Hand pruners. Pruning A lot of people do their pruning in the fall, which is a good time to do that after the leaves have dropped on your deciduous trees. Uh, you need a pruning saw, lopping shears, depending on how much. A good rule of thumb is if you're pruning this fall, never prune over 1/3 of the bush, shrub, or tree you're pruning. Never prune more than 1/3. And that's what we call a hard pruning. So 1/3 of the foliage, the limbs, the canopy, never prune over more than 1/3, because that's called a hard pruning. Also, if you plan on doing any plantings, you're going to need a good spade. I don't know if you have post hole diggers, and I'm going over this a lot for your first time gardeners. I know some of you seasoned guys already have all this. You know, gardening's not cheap, but it's still a cheap hobby, and we get to see so much benefits for our work. If you're thinking on having any spring blooming flowers, such as your daffodils, lilacs, tulips, and all, buy you a good bulb planter. Get your bulbs now. When they're coming in, get those planted this fall in the area that you want. That is a must to have those in. And again, that's a good place for some of those leaves. If you do have an area that doesn't already have mulch over those bulbs. Keep them from freezing hard this winter. If you're going to do any yard work, when you're out and about looking between your beds and trees and all, and you say, well, I've got some bare spots in the grass. I'm going to do this. A good hand seeder is going to be worth its weight in gold. Or if you have a bigger one, maybe you need a pull behind seeder behind your lawn tractor or a push type. Either one works well. Now, again, this is fall. Here is the best time. If you're going to do any yard work, if you're planning on patching that yard, take some soil samples. Go down to your local extension office. They have the sampling boxes, the kits, which are free to you with the instructions. I promise you, on my raised beds and all, I will go ahead and pull a sample of those. A lot of people like to lime their yard every year, fertilize their yard every year. Take the soil samples first. You may not need lime, and you may not need the amount of fertilizer that you think you need. Fertilizer is very expensive and hard to get now. There's no need of putting something on that you don't need. The grass is going to only use so much to start with. And please don't overlime. That does make your soil hard in a lot of areas. One thing about that is usually you're going to find around our area, the red dirt, if you're working the crops a lot, yeah, you're going to need some more lime in several years. In the grass, probably not so much, but do that. Keep in mind, yet you don't have the grass growing in the winter, but the root system's still there, and that's what you want hardy and taken care of, so that when the spring comes, it will pop out and do you a good job. But soil tests are a great one. Another thing, if your raised beds are coming off in September, you haven't planted cold weather crops, think about putting a cover crop on that. Now, here's what you get out of that. You can use ryegrass, and that is annual rye, very cheap to buy that. You can actually use sweet peas. That's a good nitrogen fixer, good to turn under in the soil. You can use clover, buckwheat. There's several different ones you can use. You can actually use wheat or barley. All those will do good, and what you're doing is you're adding back that organic matter to your soil. You're keeping it aerated. You're keeping the moisture content going on during the winter. And believe it or not, a lot of times that helps even suppress weeds from the spring. So these are some of just a few things that you can do and have to get ready for your fall maintenance. One thing I like to do too, especially with seeds, get the new seed catalogs. I'm a fan of Baker Creek Seeds for heirlooms. They have their full catalog out, which is like $10 or $12. Send it in and get the full catalog. You can get a partial catalog. for free. But go ahead and spend the $10 or $12. I think you'll like it. We talk a lot about vegetable seeds here. But Baker Creek also has, like most seed companies, has your annual seeds, perennial seeds, and herbs. You can go ahead and get those ready so you can start those like we were talking. A lot of them start right after Christmas, some of them don't, but you'll be ready to go for next year. Go ahead, make you a catalog of what you want. Now is the time to write down what you were thinking about. Okay. Uh, but that's fall maintenance. This is all fall maintenance so we can be ready for the garden next year. Okay. If you're planning on putting down any trees or shrubs, all the tools we talked about, a lot of those you'll need. So, anyway, just thought I would give you a quick reminder that fall's on the way, and these are some of the maintenance tasks, and there's more. And I'm sure, depending on what you have planted and what area it's in. But we will be harvesting some of our last crops here in the next few weeks, and we'll need to be cleaning up that area and getting ready to go for our next season. Well, I hope that's helped and maybe give you a little reminder. And, we're getting ready to have some of that good cold weather that we get to work in. It's just be great. And I hope everybody's gardens and trees have done well this year. If you have any questions about our podcast, or you got a question you'd like for us to address, if you go on our webpage at daddypete's.com and just click on the button, we'll be more than glad to try to answer that for you. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions. Another thing is we do have all these podcasts archived. If you want to go through, find a particular subject, listen to that. Maybe that'll help answer your questions. While you're on the website, go ahead and sign up for our monthly email that's sent from Daddy Pete's, and it gives you a few tips on gardening in there. And I think every once in a while, the girls throw in a few recipes and a couple other things, and that's totally free to you. But the main thing is we don't sell your email. We don't give it away. We don't share it. That's between us. Now, the other thing, if you do get a chance, we'd love for you to check out our products and see how they can help you in all your garden needs. Well, until next time, this has been Gardening with Daddy Pete, and I'm Melvin York, and happy gardening.